Perfect. Now it's better. So thank you very much for coming. Yeah, it's Silent Hill, so it was silent from the beginning, of course. So this topic will be from the idea to the finished game. What is the path for a level designer? But to be honest, I will be talking more about our Silent Hill 2 remake and how I approach creating my level. So if any of you don't like spoilers and don't want to spoil a bit of the game, I will try to minimum it to minimum, then please leave this cell. If not, then we can stay here. Okay, so creating video games, it's fun, right? You can create this massive universe all with all developed backstories, but what if you need to have like the source game, as we did? What if you have a limited resources, a limited time, or a limited freedom, creative freedom to be precise? I will try to answer this question and give you some of my recipes that I used while creating this game. So, first, not this. Oh, yeah, I was there. So first, I will say some word about me. My name is Anna Opolska-Szybisz. I am a senior level designer in Bluebird team, and besides creating video games, I also love cosplay, training with my dog Riley Obediency, also traveling, and I am a published book author. Two of my books were released this year under my pseudonym Unholy. So I start my journey with the with creating video games with Sniper Ghost Warrior 3, and some of the people here probably remember me from creating this game. Then I jumped to The Path of Calidra and Bee Simulator when I was working as a lead game designer, a code producer, and I ended my career by now with the Silent Hill 2, which I was working on for 2 years. So if any of you don't know this game, I will play the trailer.
James? Honey, did something happen to you after we got separated in that long hallway? Are you confusing me with someone else? You were always so forgetful. Remember that time in the hotel?
Are you taping again? Come on. I don't know why, but I just love it here. It's so peaceful.
In my restless dreams, I see that town. You promised you'd take me there again someday. But you never did. Well, I'm alone there now, in our special place.
Just put the gun to their head.
You can't just kill someone because the way they looked at you.
You should see your face, too.
Let go!
I'm sorry, Laura, but I can't let you just run around this place. You might get hurt.
Hurt by what?
This place is different from what I remember. I don't think she's here anymore.
This whole town. Might be best if you just get out of here.
Yeah, you're right.
You said you took everything. But you forgot that videotape we made.
How do you know about that? Aren't you Maria?
I'm not your Mary.
So you are Maria.
I am. If you want me to be.
How do you know about Mary?
You see it too? For me, it's always like this.
Doesn't matter who I am. I am here for you, James. See? I'm real.
So in my restless dream, I never thought that I will be able to create a game that has 95% of the positive comments in the Steam, and we have overwhelming positive Steam thumbs up. And we already sold 1 million copies. So for me, it's something amazing. And I hope that some of my insights from this game will help you develop a good game in the future. So our agenda will be about these 5 steps that I take to create my level. So first of all, at the beginning of the development stage, I was thinking about the mystery of the piece of paper. So what to do when you have a limited creative freedom. The second thing was the integrating the game design into the level design and how to work with the limited resources. The third thing is crucial elements, so what to do when you have a limited time. And the fourth thing is team structure, so what to do when you, how to make a strong team structure. And the last but not least is bug hunting, so is preventing some bugs from happening even possible? We will try to answer these questions at the end of this talk and see if something from this will stay with you. I hope so. So the first thing is mystery of the piece of paper. So probably most of you, when I'm starting to talking about the mystery of the piece of paper, you are thinking about this. So 2D layout of the level, which show the paths, the important elements on the level, and probably parts of the puzzle. But when I am thinking about starting to creating my level, I always think about the story. So what is the game exactly about? What is the soul of this game, and why player is exactly in this place that he is, and what he is going to discover there? Is he will be facing some of his traumas? If yes, what kind of the trauma? What I want to tell players through my level. And this was something that I spent many weeks on, like discovering whole game. I was playing it multiple times, the original one. I was noting each elements that I had in my level, and I was also noting each the elements, the feelings that player has during playing this level. Also, what is crucial for the Silent Hill 2 is like this symbolism behind this game. In Silent Hill, you just not discover the normal layout with classical bosses or the enemies that's trying to kill you. Every aspect of this level, every element, every wall is placed there because it's telling some story. It's telling the story of personal hell of our protagonist, so James. And this how, when I was discovering this level, I was playing it, like, as I said, multiple times, I saw that we had 3 exact level within one. My level was the labyrinth, so I saw that when the player is walking around these whole levels, because you were able to use the ladders to navigate between the levels, you will see that there are some differences between these paths that are in the labyrinth. Is why I came up with the idea to create not 1, but 3 levels within this one. Here is very dark, so I will jump to the next one. So first of all, first level that you will discover in the labyrinth will be a discuss path. And why I choose this one? Because when we were thinking about the James' journey and his feelings toward his late wife, when she was sick, he had some of his feelings toward her, and one of them was a disgust. Is why this level is creating around this feeling of him towards Mary. The second one is a fear one, and in this level you can feel the emptiness and the void that shows the void that James feel inside him when he was thinking about the Mary late wife. And the last one is an anger. So again, a new feeling that came to him when he was thinking about her illness. And around three of these levels, I was thinking about how can I incorporate the labyrinth idea in 3 levels, but still make them somehow different with each other. And here comes handy some of the concepts of the levels of the labyrinth that are not only a structure, like the labyrinth in the in historical meaning is sometimes the labyrinth that you know from the Greek mythology, for example, but also it means the labyrinth inside our head. So the repetitive things that are in our head that pop up, and we cannot remove them from our thinking. So it's why not all of my paths looks like exactly the labyrinth that you will be thinking of. And here is the first layout of the first path that I was creating. And it was quite okay, let's say it. We had some dead ends, we had a typical labyrinth structure. But the problem with that level was that it was a simple level. You know, I just put here some walls, some dead ends, some spaces where player can grab things that help him to beat this level. But in the end, it was only a level. So I was starting to thinking how I can also change those levels into the puzzle. Because as many of you probably know, the Silent Hill 2, it's more about the puzzles, not about fighting. So I was thinking how to change those levels into the puzzles itself. And I think that the most important part of creating the puzzle is that you need a key. So I jump again into the history of creating the labyrinths, or the maze, and I was looking for some clues how can I incorporate those keys. And I found the story about the Theseus. So if you know, the Theseus is the guy who beat the Minotaur, but he also has a help from the Ariadne, and Ariadne gave him her threads. Thanks to this thread, he was able to get out from the labyrinth. And I was thinking about that it is a great idea to give the players also some kind of the threads through all the levels that will help them to beat the level. So each of these small levels within my levels has its own key, his own Ariadne threads, that helps people to beat the level. Thanks to that, this layout was able to appear in my level and wasn't really very complicated for the testers to beat thanks to these Ariadne threads. And how these Ariadne threads really look like in the game? You need to play to find out. So, the mystery of the piece of paper. Find out what makes your level unique in terms of the story and consider how to represent this through level design. The second thing is integrating the game design into level design. So how to work with the limited resources. And here is the thing, when I joined the Silent Hill team, we already had some concepts for this level. And one of them was this concept for Discussed Path, created by Aneta Bielas. And I found this concept very interesting. On the first hand, it's something that stood up from the others element. And thanks to this cage that you have in the middle, it already stands in player's mind through all the levels. So he knows exactly that probably this is the part of the puzzle that he needs to solve. So I didn't need any additional tutorials or some camera movement to show the player that this is his goal. He needs to do something with this cage. And I found that this is the great idea to use this cage in the game and to create whole level around it. And after my level 1 was one of the least created, we had limited resources to incorporate new puzzles. It's why I needed to think how we can use already existing mechanics and incorporate it into creating this level. And here is my prototype of this exact puzzle. I used the already existing mechanic that we had, like merging 3 elements together, and I thought that the best way will be to use them to make the cage fall down. And thanks to creating like this prototype with every element that you can see here, like with the cinematic of the cage, with all the elements that we have already to merge it, and with the effects, let's say it, of this rope burning, and with the jump and teleport, I was able to check this inside the game and see if it fits there and if it fits the story, the pacing, and the space. And in the end, when I get all the elements that were finished for this level, we don't need to change anything, as you can see, because everything was already tested in the prototype phase. So when all the elements was given me to incorporate it to the level, I don't need to change a thing. And thanks to that, you save a time and money and the resources for creating your level. So yeah, when you're creating a prototype, you should take into account all team members that will be involving in creating the final version. With a prototype, you can easily check if it fits the flow of the game, fits the place and space where you want to add it. This way, when assets from another team arrive, there will be fewer changes, as I already said. So remember, I think that was one of the most important elements of creating this level. The second thing is how we can change some of the existing already puzzles in the original into new ones. And one of the most important puzzles in my level, Solve the Labyrinth, was the cube puzzle. And the original game nailed it. It was really, really good. But the most important element here was when the player were manipulating with this small cube, he didn't see what exactly was happening with the big cube behind him, because this small cube was influencing the door behind him and the room behind him. So players, each time to check his changing, he needed to exit the cube, like this puzzle cube, and look around what changed. So this adds a lot of going into the puzzle and going out of the puzzle. So we thought that it is the first thing that we need to change here. But also, I was thinking about not creating only a simple room that will be changing through this puzzle, but also create another labyrinth inside this. And here, the Usher Relativity get handy. I was thinking about incorporating this kind of the puzzle because it's still some kind of the puzzle, some kind of the labyrinth inside this small cube puzzle. And as you can see, you have a multiple paths here and multiple dimension, let's say it, and you never know when you end up. You can walk on the walls, you can walk on the stairs that you already seen on the ceiling, for example. And I thought it's a great idea to add it to the labyrinth itself. And here is how I made this prototype. It's, again, something that I really think it's important for the level designer to prototype as many things as you can. This is the only in the kind puzzle in our game, and I was prototyping it by myself with a small help of the programmers, because I know that I must be able to change anything I need in that. So I created all space inside, every entrance, exits, and all the mechanics around it. Because if anything needed to be changed, and this puzzle is very difficult to make and to beat, then I need to be able to do it very quickly, not waiting for the programmers or any other person to fix it for me. And the first thing that you can see here is that we incorporating also the colors. So player needed to match the exit color of the cube with the entrance on the wall. And for some of the testers, exactly 1 on the 3, it was too complicated to understand what they need to exactly need to do. So first of all, sorry, not this way. Back. Why it's not going back? Okay. Okay. Let's say you didn't saw that, right? Okay, we are back here, so in the cube. And first of all, we added some of the elements that I have pointed. The sum of the elements for the paths leading phase cube, let's say. So each of the path has its own representation. Here is the disgust, here is the anger, and here is the fear. So you have some of the elements that are looking similar to the exits of these paths. So that was the first clue. The second clue was also the symbols. We had only 4 symbols for the elements that leading to these concrete paths. And we thought that it will be enough. It will be quite good for the players to beat this puzzle, but it wasn't. So we needed to change also the idea behind how the player needs to manipulate this small box, and we ended up with having this kind of the puzzle. So this is the final look of it with cutscenes, etc. And to beat this puzzle, player needs to put the entrance of the same symbol with the exit. So now they don't need to make as many manipulation in his mind. He just needs to have a correct entrance. And the second thing that we thought it will be better and better suits the Silent Hill genre is the colors. We get rid of the colors. I know that in the original there was there, but we thought that it doesn't suit really Silent Hill, it feels too festival. So we remove them and leave only the symbols and some of the appearance of these faces. So, responsiveness and visibility are 2 key components of a good puzzle. And if 1 on 3 of your testers telling you that the puzzle is too complicated, you need to make it easier. And remember about that. It's always better to have too easy puzzle than too complicated. I know it's very sad for some, but unfortunately this is really something that you need to remember after this talk. So, integrating the game design into level design. Take existing mechanics and reuse them in creative way, as I did with the cage puzzle. And create as many prototypes as possible to sell your vision, which I did with the cube puzzle. Oh, something is happening with the lights. Nice. More sound? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I probably I can. It's evil enough. I hope so. Boo! No, it's not working. You see, jump scare's not working. Okay, so getting back to the presentation. Crucial elements. What to do when you have a limited time. And to be honest, we never have enough time to create a game, right? It's always something that we need to rush with some of the elements, etc. So what to do to avoid some of the backtracking, to avoid some changes in our layout that we already established, we already meshes, we already have the lighting, etc. And now it comes up that we need to change something. How to eliminate some of those problems? So first of all, probably you remember that. I already showed you this. So this was the layout for the first path. And even with Ariadna threads, as I told you, it was still too complicated for some of the testers to beat it. So we started thinking about making it easier. But when you make easier the labyrinth, then it came up not to be a labyrinth in the end. So we were thinking what we can do to still track the player progression and to see if it's enough for them to beat the level, but not mess too much with this layout. And here, the 2D map come handy. we incorporate into the 2D map early enough to be able to see if the player is able to beat the level. Thanks to 2D map that it is available for the player for whole game, he was able to see where he exactly is. And even then, people are still feeling that this level is a labyrinth. As you can see, there is some changes in the layout because they needed to be done, but in the end, we ended up with having quite a good labyrinth here. So remember, if you have 2D map in your game, incorporating it in the level design as soon as possible. The second thing is lightning. And I don't know if any of you know or if you're working in the same way, but light team never came up before the level design team. Like, we are always working on this raw, let's say, lightning that is only for our purpose. But also, when you don't have the lighting team that already set on your level, the testers also are testing the level with this lightning. And here is the part of the puzzle from the Fear Path. So, desolation area probably in the original, like in the end game. And this gate is very important for the player because he needs to see it from the beginning to know exactly what he needs to do in the later game. So when he finds a key, he knows already that he needs this key to open this gate. And when players or the testers were testing this game with this lightning, everything was clear. They already seen this gate and they know that they need to get here. But when the lightning came, this is something that players see. So as you can see, there is pitch dark here, and player can see this gate only if they are close enough to light it up with their flashlight. So it was something that we cannot have in our game. So I asked the team responsible for the lighting to light up this gate. And this is something that we end up with. As you can see, the gate is visible even if the player has no flashlight on, and at the early beginning of the game, of this path, exactly. So, the conclusion from this space is, if you need something that needs to be lightened up, or something that needs to be guided player by the light, remember to incorporate it as early as possible. Okay, and the last from this section is enemies. As we all know, the enemies are sometimes a pain in the ass. Because for some player they are too complicated, for the other they are too easy. So how we can work with this? Here we have the Mandarin, and this is the amazing work of Łukasz, I think, this model, and also the concept by Aneta. So as you can see, this enemy was walking under the floor. And his main purpose for this level was not to be a typical enemy for the player to beat, but more about the obstacle. Because players were walking around, running around this level, like the first one discussed, and he wanted to avoid this enemy, not exactly fight with it, but avoid. And when I was first prototyping this level, I created some spaces with this Mandarin under the floor. And as you can see, only in this area the Mandarin was some kind of a threat for the player. But because I limit these areas, players don't feel like they are really chased by something or that there are any threat for them. And then I thought that through this playthroughs, I saw that something is not working here. And here, it's how we ended up. So no, oh my God, that was a joke, sorry. So, yeah, as you were able to see here, I made all the floor in this section like this wire one. Oh, thank you very much. It's much better, I think. So I make this wire one, so the player are constantly feeling that they are chased by something and there is a threat in these corridors. And when they entered some of the rooms that there is no the wire floor, they already feel like, oh, finally I'm safe. And then, you know, some jump scares or the other elements come on them. So you are here dealing with the player emotions, and it is crucial, especially for the horror games. And here is my joke that I blew already. So here are my pets that I also incorporating in all my games that I'm creating. And they are helping me a lot. Some of them are coding my stuff, so you know, don't tell it to my employee, okay? But you know, I need to add them to the game. But in the situation of the Silent Hill 2, it was impossible. But in the end, we are able to add it to the production babies. So yeah. If you have your animals that you love so much, you can add it also to the production babies if you want. So don't forget about that. And to sum up this section, crucial elements. What to do when you have a limited time. So remember about the mechanics that player can use. Adding things like map, lightning, or monsters should be included at the earliest. Okay, so the fourth part. Team structure, how to make a strong team for a level. So many of you probably know or not, creating a level incorporate a lot of people. Like there is a bunch of those who are working on this level, and probably I forgot about some of them. But to be honest, all of these people, everyone that are in the subtitles, are involving in creating your level. But the most important part of all of these people are these four. And sorry, Maria. But yeah, so when I was working on my level, we creating some kind of the strike team. So this from one people from each of this department and me were involving in the strike team. And we were working on this game together, like creating it from the level design, environment artists, level art, and QA perspective. And the strike team is important because you have this team together, like they feel like they are some kind of the family. And when I had anything to ask them, anything to do, we already know to who go and to who ask about some things. And the second important thing was that we incorporating also the weekly playthroughs of the level. So each week, at the same time, at the same hour, we were sitting together like this four person, and we're playing our level, like exactly the labyrinth level. And we were checking if the milestone is met, if we have already everything that we needed to do from the last week done, if there is some changes or blockers that need to be addressed to other teams or other persons from the team. And thanks to that, we were only meeting our goals, and we all know what is happening on the level. And to be honest, this weekly playthroughs first of all starts with 4 of these people, but it ended with whole company involving it, and everyone wanted to join to see how the level is prosper and how it changed. And thanks to that, I never had a problem to, for example, ask the VFX team or sound team to add something, because they already knew that they need to add this, because they were on our playthroughs and they already see what can be done better. And I think that's the most important thing of creating your level. If you are able to do it, just do this weekly playthroughs, especially with your tribe team. So, team structure. The strike team makes people more commitment to the project. And weekly strike team playthroughs keep everyone updated on level progress. And last part is bug hunting. And I know that probably this question is very problematic, and I will try to answer it. So, is preventing some bugs from happening even possible? First thing is that we incorporating, okay, something changed. We incorporating something like, okay, you don't see it, but over here, you have the structure on our Mattermost with all the maps, all the features that we have in the game, separating on different canals. So, for example, if I add any change to my level, anything new, or there's a new way to beat the level, or I add a new puzzle, or I changed even a wall, I post it here, so everyone are involving in creating this level or even interesting in this level already knew that something changed. And thanks to that, again, each person who is involving in creating this level were able to be on track and to know exactly what changed in the level and what they need to do with that. The second thing is testing your game. And this is the most important thing, I think, because most of us, like level designers, game designers, etc., we don't like to break our games. To be honest, we always try to minimum it, to do the best we can to beat this level without any errors, except the QA team probably. But if you are a level designer, try to play your level as a player who wants to break it. So try to find any possible way to go through the wall, or to, for example, double the eddy, as I did here, as you can see. So try everything you can, so you can find it before the players and fix it. The second thing is adding some shortcuts for you. So, for example, here I added some code parts that were creating for the testers and for us to jump between the level parts. Because my level is incorporating of 3 small levels, it was very difficult to, for example, test the last one, so the anger, because you needed to beat like the two first. And this is why I added this code that you can type in your in your console, sorry. You can tap in your console and then you get teleported to the concrete place in the concrete path. And thanks to that, the testing was much easier and we were able to test things much faster. But sometimes, you know, bugs happen like this one, and you cannot do anything with that. But you know, the same happened with the real life. Things don't go easy with us, right? So, bug hunting. Try to test your game thinking like player who want to break it. Inform QA team about every change to keep them into the test loop, and if you can, inform everyone incorporating and creating your level about this. So, conclusion. We answered all these questions that I posed at the beginning of the speech. So the first one is what to do when you have a limited creative freedom. So the answer, my answer, is find out what makes your level unique in terms of story and consider how to represent this through level design. The second thing is integrating the game design into level design. So how to work with the limited resources. And here, take existing mechanics and reuse them in creative ways. Create as many prototypes as possible to sell your vision. The fourth one is what to do when you have a limited time. So remember about the mechanics that player can use. Adding things like map, lightning, and monsters should be included at the earliest. Team structure, how to make a strong team for the level. The strike teams make player more commitment to the project. Weekly strike team playthroughs keep everyone updated on level progress. And the last, bug hunting, is preventing some bugs from happening possible? Yes, it is. If you try to test your game thinking like the player who want to break it. And if you inform QA team about every change to keep them in the test loop. So, thank you very much. This is all about my talk.